Howdy folks, Max Mogren here, oilfreefun.com off news. It is the 2nd of September 2013, Labor Day. I have a rare day off today, so I'm making a video for y'all, putting a little work in. USA Today has not put a paper out yet because they put out a 4-day this weekend because they're that lazy. So we're looking at the Jackson Hole Daily. Again, this valley is one of the Banksterism strongholds here in the United States. So the paper is actually pretty informative, and that's why I'm sharing it with all of you. Big news in town, they want to put more cell towers up in Jackson. Luckily, the county commissioners are trying to put a freeze on it, but they can't because of federal laws. Congress took control of cell towers away from cities and counties with the Telecommunications Act of 1996. Besides prohibiting county and municipal governments from blocking cell phone companies' plans to build their networks, another 2012 federal law allows telecommunications companies to build towers 20 feet taller than any height set by town and county ordinances. Okay, so the Jackson's trying to do something about this cell tower thing, but there are federal laws in place making it illegal to stop cell phone companies from putting towers up wherever they want. And that's pretty fucked up when you are aware of electrification and the diseases of civilization. You know, in Sweden, electromagnetic hypersensitivity is a recognized disorder, and something like 40,000 people are on, they get help because they've got it. I think I'm electromagnetically sensitive to some extent, but not hypersensitive to the point where I have extreme headaches or anything. But some people do. And Staniel Milham, a physician epidemiologist specializing in public health with more than 100 scientific publications, many dealing with the health effects of electricity, warns us those who ignore history are doomed to repeat it. Okay, just reading you one paragraph out of the preface. This is a great book, worth its weight in gold. There is a high likelihood that most of the 20th century diseases of civilization, including cardiovascular disease, malignant neoplasms, cancer, diabetes, and suicide, are not caused by lifestyle alone, but by certain physical aspects of electricity itself. The data to prove this has been available since 1930, but no one investigated it. Consequently, the wars on cancer and cardiovascular diseases, and I would add Alzheimer's disease, attention deficit disorder, and all that as well to some extent, are doomed to failure. These wars on diseases are doomed to failure because a critical etiological factor has not been recognized. What's more, these very diseases are now increasing in the population in direct proportion to our increasing exposures to high technology electrical devices. Okay, transmitting data wirelessly is about as unnatural as it can get, from a electrical standpoint. And guess what? 1980s, the body electric, electromagnetism, and the foundation of life. Okay, just because radiation is non-ionizing, it doesn't mean it's not drastically affecting your physical, mental, and spiritual health. Okay, Jackson does not need more cell towers, and frankly, I don't think we should have any until we know that they're safe. A lot of people move here because they want a small town vibe. Well, it's hard to have a small town vibe when you're being inundated with somebody else's streaming Major League Baseball game to their iPhone. But what's funny, so hopefully something happens to slow this cell tower they're planning to put right in the middle of town at the fairgrounds. Meanwhile, police, Game and Fish suspend the West Jackson mountain lion alert. So a bike path in town has been closed for 4 days because 2 people saw a mountain lion. Everybody's up in arms, freaked out because a mountain lion lives on Snow King, and totally overlooking the fact that there's a giant goddamn antenna beaming radiation down on everybody. Not just one, there are many, but the new one, the one that really concerns me, is the one right next to the panorama house with all the plate antennas on it that's transmitting people's 3G and 4G streaming video, just obscene amounts of data flying through the air and influencing all of us, our health. So it's funny how skewed priorities are that here in Jackson Hole, we got to close a bike path for 4 days because of a mountain lion sighting. Nobody cares that we're zapping the entire valley with harmful, unnatural electromagnetic frequencies. Moving on. Members of Congress really should go take a hike. Nicholas Kristof. It's pretty good. He's talking about how his family during vacation went and hiked some of the Pacific Crest Trail. And now all of these, across the country, the Forest Service has estimated that only 1/4 of its 158,000 miles of trails meet its own standards. What our ancestors were able to create when we were a poor country, we are unable to sustain even now that we are rich. That's not because of resources. It's because they were visionaries and we are blind. It's absolutely right. The U.S. has got all this money to spend shooting Tomahawk missiles at Syria as a largely symbolic act to save face, to flex its military might. But we can't afford to repair roads, trails, feed the poor, clothe people in this country, give people a place to live, even though there are like 6 to 7 empty houses for every known homeless person in this country. It's just sad. So Congress really should have taken a hike because they've had the last goddamn month off from work. How would you love to have a month off from work? That's what Congress just wrapped up. Or they're wrapping it up actually September 9th. This lady's crazy, Kathleen Parker. She's a liar. She's an idiot. In this article, it's all based on the assumption that Syria attacked its own civilians with chemical weapons. There is ample evidence showing that the rebels have been using nerve gases, but I've seen no evidence whatsoever showing that the Syrian government has done anything like that. And frankly, I find it hard to believe because Bashar al-Assad wants the support of the people, and he has it. And he's not going to shoot chemical weapons at neighborhoods in cities in suburbs of Damascus when he wants the support of the people. And it's funny, but the children, Mr. President, those images, the suffering, 100,000 dead, your credibility, 100,000 dead. People are dying there because the United States is funding an illegal terrorist insurrection in the country. So Kathleen Parker, get your shit together. Get out of the paper. Moving on, investors brace for fun September. Imagine gathering nearly everything that has rattled investors' nerves over the past 4 years. The European debt crisis, fights over the U.S. government's budget, and moves by the Federal Reserve. Now imagine all of them crammed into 1 month. That month, it's September. The Fed's September meeting, the private banking cartel, the Federal Reserve, is when many on Wall Street think the central bank will begin winding down its massive money printing program. They call it bond buying. It's money printing. And they're not just buying bonds. They're bailing each other out. Toxic mortgage assets that they have to pay back to the senior bondholders, which happen to be themselves. And Congress will be on a tight deadline to pass a spending bill before the month ends, a process which could easily turn into another brawl over raising the government's borrowing limit. Okay, this is bad comedy. They're not going to limit their debt because the government is built on debt. The entire economy is built on debt. And it's like, Congress is going to have to fight deadline. They're on vacation for another week. They've been on vacation for a month. They got a week left to go. Then there is the wild card. President Obama said Saturday that the U.S. should take military action in response to the alleged use of chemical weapons, alleged, no proof, in an attack that killed hundreds in Syria. Obama, however, said he would seek congressional approval before any military strike. Congress is scheduled to reconvene from their summer vacation on September 9th. Okay, so Obama standing down for now on Syria. I got an idea. How about we pull all of our funding from the rebel terrorist armies and leave Syria the fuck alone? Conventional wisdom says the Fed will announce plans to trim its monthly purchases of bonds from 85 billion to around 75 billion. Once again, that money's not just going into bonds. It would be the Fed's first step towards winding down the 3 trillion bond buying program launched during the financial crisis. Okay, a lot more than 3 trillion has been pulled out of the Fed's ass and loaned into existence with interest since 2008. The danger is that the Fed scales back much more than expected. Blah, blah, blah. Maybe, for instance, the Fed will buy 55 billion each month. Markets will react as if the Fed is slamming on the brakes. Okay, 85 billion a month indefinitely. How much money is that? That's $1 trillion a year. What percentage of US GDP is that? That's 6.6666%, roughly. So it's kind of ironic. You know, if you're printing almost 7% of your GDP, GDP is already an extremely dubious and manipulated figure here in the United States, but 7% of GDP is being printed, okay? Clearly, the economy is not humming along. Fast food strike, I hope they get 15 an hour. Okay, the average fast food worker is making about $7.50 an hour. Works out to about 15 grand annually for working a full-time 40-hour work week. If you doubled fast food workers' wages to 15 an hour, doubled to 15, they're making 31K annually, which is livable, okay? These people are working full-time jobs. They're not easy jobs. Working in a fucking fast food kitchen is not easy, and they deserve a living wage. Fast food, you know, the entire institution could be a good thing. You know, if it was healthy food, it'd be okay that it's fast. But as it stands now, fast food costs our country, all of us, our entire civilization, so much in the health costs. You know, feeding people cheap garbage just makes people sick. And in the fact that most of these people who work in fast food restaurants, they can't afford to live off of that, so they have to take government assistance. Okay? Doubled to 15 an hour. It's sad. Regulate pot. Uruguay has been down this road. If you know Uruguay, you know Jose Mujica, the president, is the poorest president on the planet. Awesome dude. He donates all of his salary to charity. Uruguay has had, it's controlled the liquor distribution and manufacturing in its country for a century. So they're just going to add legal marijuana to that. The government alone responsible for importing, producing, obtaining, storing, commercializing, and distributing the drug, the medicine. Purchases by licensed users will be limited to 1.4 ounces per month. Pot growing cooperatives will be encouraged using government-approved seeds, and people registered with the state will be able to grow up to 6 plants at home for personal use as long as they harvest no more than 17 ounces per year. Mujica said the state grabbed the production of alcohol and made a monopoly of alcohol because it couldn't stop the booze, and he said, at least don't poison the people. The booze should be good. Okay? Well, here in the United States, I'd say our leaders, our corporate overlords, have a different perspective on whether or not they should poison the people. And let's hope the U.S. does not try to mimic Uruguay's monopolization of marijuana, because odds are they'd fuck it up like they do everything else. Burning Man. The man burns in the Black Rock Desert at Burning Man on Saturday night. BLM spokesman said more than 61,000 people turned out so far for the Outdoor Arts and Music Festival in northern Nevada. The annual event is intended to celebrate self-expression and self-reliance. Okay? I love the Burning Man. Burn the man to the ground. Egypt's Morsi to be tried for inciting killings. Okay, this is fucked up. This is ultimate wag the dog nonsense. Morsi was ousted in July 3rd, almost 2 months ago. Okay, over 600 protesters were killed by the military over the last few weeks. Who knows how many there really have been, but it's more than, I'd say it's probably 1,000 or more. But it's definitely over 600. But the media, the mainstream media in the U.S. is more concerned that supporters of Morsi attacked protesters in December 4th. Supporters of Morsi attacked protesters, sparking deadly street battles that left at least 10 dead. Okay, December 4th, 10 dead. What about the 600 killed by the Egyptian military last week? Okay, so they're taking the existing awareness of massacres in Egypt and they're spinning it back to December 4th, blaming it on Morsi, taking the heat off the military coup. Obama, U.S. seeks Congress is okay to act. This guy's in Egypt. It's funny, they got their own problems in Egypt. And, well, I guess he's talking about the $1.5 billion in military aid that the U.S. federal government gives to the Egyptian military while the Egyptian military is massacring civilians. But Obama's going to wait. Again, Congress is on vacation until September 9th. Wouldn't it be nice to have a week of vacation? Well, Congress has had a month. You know? It's ridiculous. UN, Syria has to preserve its heritage, okay? Syria's antiquities chief said the government stashed away the most valuable artifacts from museums around the country, mindful of the looting that followed the U.S. invasion of Iraq in 2003. Yes, that's right, we are in the middle of the ongoing U.S. invasion of Syria. Similar situation. It's just a hidden war. Few countries are as rich culturally, have had such a glorious past, are so important to what we are, all of us, for all the things that make and have made human civilization, said Lakhdar Brahimi, the UN Special Envoy to Syria. Okay? Selling a farm often calls for creative deals. This is important too. The farmland issue, the genetically modified food issues is huge right now. The need to be innovative in selling farms to the next generation has become more urgent as farmland prices rise and farmers get older. Okay, this starts talking about a farmer in New York passing on the farm to his son-in-law. Some farmers have come up with different strategies to make sure the younger generation can continue to work the land. It is a concern, especially when you have less than 1% of the population producing the food for the whole country, said Edward Stair, executive director of New York FarmNet, an Ithaca-based nonprofit that helps farmers. Okay? The reason that the farm prices are going up, the land prices are going up, is the banking cartel, the big banks have been buying up farmland in a frenzy so they can turn it over to their buddies at Monsanto. Controlling the global food supply is just like controlling the global energy supply, controlling the global flow of information, the media, the government. So they want to control the food supply, because if they do control the food supply and all the little farmers have been bought out, can't afford to farm anymore, rising prices. I mean, think about that. The price of your land goes up, making it more difficult to farm it, okay? One of the most expensive things in the world to become is an organic farmer. You know, if you wanted to start from scratch and start an organic farm just to sell lettuce to your neighbors, to do it legally within the confines of the law and to get that organic certification, you're going to need probably over $1 million to set up the operation. So, you know, farmers stand strong. Meanwhile, speaking of rising land prices, Jackson Hole, real estate ads. These people, 12,000 square foot, $10 million log homes, okay? It's offensive. It's obscene. Moving on, speaking of farms, land, Monsanto. Source of GMO wheat in Oregon remains a mystery. Oregon farmers moving ahead with plans to start planting their next crop. Speculation about the origins of the unapproved genetically modified wheat discovered in northeastern Oregon ranges from saboteurs to a passing flock of geese. The U.S. Department of Agriculture's Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service said Friday their investigation is ongoing. Okay, a passing flock of geese could have caused this genetically modified corn. I know where it originated. This GM corn, or excuse me, this GM wheat originated at Monsanto. Okay, over 90% of the corn, the soybeans grown in this country, and a lot of the wheat is genetically modified already. It has been, steadily taking over the market since the mid-90s. And this wheat was really bad because it's not approved yet. Okay, I'm not sure what's going on here. Maybe Oregon is being punished slightly for its stance on marijuana, the fact that water fluoridation was shut down in Portland. Thank God for that. Keep Portland weird. But I don't know. It's just interesting. The genetically modified food agenda, that rabbit hole goes really deep. And my best advice to people, my last video talked about oxidative stress and all of the human health problems that are linked to that. Genetically modified foods and all the pesticides and shit sprayed on them really are awful. So I encourage anyone listening to this, please try to eat as healthy as possible. It has never been more important than right now. That's all I got. Max Mogren, Off News, September 2nd, Labor Day 2013. Thanks for watching this. I know they're long-winded, but, so is a lecture at college. So is a lecture in high school. And, these are media literacy training videos teaching people what I believe is the proper way to analyze the mainstream news and contrast it with actual reality using logic and verifiable facts to cut through the spin and inform people about the most important issues of our time. So, signing off, take care, one love, peace, freedom to mankind, keep fighting.
Red King David come back again in the 31st century when him come conquer them. Aye, King David come back again. Him done win it once and him go win it again. Now it a fair, courage and a just cause. David so Goliath and go put them pass with fair, courage and a just cause. Flip off the eagle feathers and pop off them claws. 21st century, Goliath better run. King David come back as the Rasta man fi make fire burn. Return with him abs, him no left him take the drum. Conquer Babylon with word, power and song. Rasta come well equipped with knowledge and wisdom. Cause Goliath still a dead a bully with him big gun. I brag up and a boast and I take it for fun. But Selassie I don't reveal it. From it tongue with faith, courage and I just cause the battle must be won. It no matter if them draw them long big gun. King David took them gun from them a black and some a tell them run. Them can't escape when them judgment come. Now go let that happen, cause the battle must be won. Things hectic, dug in at the Abba Gideon, but trying to overthrow good. But the battle must be won. No matter what they try to do, them a go get slow. In the 21st century, David conquer them, grow with a fat courage and a just cause. David so Goliath and go put them pampas with fat courage and a just cause. Clip out the eagle feathers and pop off them claws with a fat courage and a just cause. David so Goliath and put them pampas with fat courage and a just cause. Clip out the eagle feathers and pop off them claws.
It's here. This place on rule of with them intense time. After the rain, Selassie bust the sky sunshine. No women will roaring lion this time. After the word of right, well keep your heart inclined. Scales of the balance, not recover man, yeah. Try be typographic in prolific disguise. Rachel weeping for her children 400 years of time. No my deed and with the lie them a try. Holy grail that all Selassie bloodline. I put them image well in every one time. Who in a history black today is white. Copper in the morning, clean them up with lime. The offspring what the remnant of the Genesis crime. Still walking them brother in the modern day mine.
In the 31st century, William come conquer them. Aye, King David come back again, him done. Win it once and him go win it again. Aye, King David come back again. In the 21st century, William come conquer them. King David come back again, him done. Win it once and him go win it again. Fair courage and not just cause. And if it's a Goliath and go put them pampas with fair. Courage and not just cause. Clip off the eagle feathers and pop off him class with a fair. Courage and not just cause. If it's a Goliath and go put them pampas with fair. Courage and not just cause. Clip off the eagle feathers and pop off his class. King David in a royal servant and him royal robe. King David no left him sword when him touch out a road. Chop out the wolf, them out of sheep clothes. Goliath and him friend, them get through overboard. Send them to the North Pole, make them freeze up and froze. Trying to touch the Lord's anointed, decompose. Shout it loud, make it known to them and those. Battle must be won, even though the wicked are war road.
Out of the sun, see that the prophecy they come out of the sun. Cause some man a bring fire burn. The media now got tranquilize gun. Ancient black Chaldean, a media pressure. St. Croix, Antigua and Jamaica. St. Thomas come is the pressure. Vertical riches of St. Lucia. And then you are chanting on the laser. From the west, the islands in the sea. Hurricane weather, send out the sound. Real winds that mark us around.
The one on it with a fat courage and not just cause. David to Goliath and go put him pampas with fat courage and not just cause. Clip off the eagle feathers and pop off him class with a fat courage and not just cause. David to Goliath and go put him pampas with a fat courage and not just cause. Clip off the eagle feathers and pop off him class.
It is good that you are here. Record this picture of me in my palace garden at Addis Ababa. People who see this throughout the world will realize that even in the 20th century, with faith, courage, and a just cause, David will still beat Goliath.